Hello, welcome to a new week of Swappin' Stories. I'm your host, Jason Hobbs, and today we're going to talk about what exactly is a story. What's a story consist of? Or when you're creating them for your business, what exactly does a story get you? Like so I'm going to create a story a week, a story a month, etc. What does that actually get me, for my business that I can use? So that's what we're going to start with. And my apologies for the up close. I had everything set up. It's really frustrating. It's super duper frustrating to have everything set up and then nothing works 3 minutes beforehand when you go to check everything that you've already checked twice. I have no clue what happened or why it happened. I'm going to obviously have to look into it, but there's nothing I can do at this point except for go on with the show, right? Everything's out of frame. If you go to my the episode for today for the live broadcast, I had it embedded, the image or the video embedded days ago when I set that up. Of course, it doesn't work. And so I put in the new one this morning and shocking, it doesn't work. It's so freaking motivating, You pour your ass off, you bust everything, and it just, it goes, who cares, right? Oh, man. I got a great email last night from John Master, and it was talking about focusing and taking control because, you're not actually as busy as you don't have to be as busy as quote unquote you may think. Busy isn't necessarily the best thing. Now, I'm not going to read the whole email and all. You need to go over to hacktheentrepreneur.com and sign up for John's email, and you'll be able to get access to an archive, including the one last night. Buddy is a great resource, which, that's the whole point of content online. It's to be an actual resource to actually help the people that you're interacting with. And that is a great example of what I mean when I say a story. What exactly is a story? It's a piece of usable, it's a piece of usable, actionable content that your customer can actually relate to and ideally use to get a quick win for them and their, situation, whatever their context is, right? So, obviously if you're a youth pastor and you're giving tips to parents as far as how to monitor online activity for their kids or any warning signs or whatever. I'm obviously not a youth pastor, so I can't say with any specificity, but if that's what you're doing, then obviously it's not to help the kid or the parent become a better business person, right? Well, with me, my content is actionable for business people to take control of their marketing. There's too many people that are not online that need to get online. And rather than having to run the marathon of options to, sift through the thousands upon thousands of possible hosting options, the thousands upon thousands of, website design and development options, and there's literally thousands of design and development options. And there's probably thousands more that are a combination of design and development. So there's just so much. And then, okay, well, you got your hosting. Now, do you need a content delivery network or CDN? Do you need a, do you need security? They're the only one I think of, but they're pretty much the standard, I guess, for WordPress as far as, to protect from malware and, to scan your site and make sure that it's constantly, it's not getting hacked, I guess is the best way to put it. Hacked in a very negative connotation. When I said, earlier, I was talking about John Master with hacktheentrepreneur.com and going over there and signing up. He's not hacking in a negative manner. The idea of that hack is to kind of boil it down to the essence. What is something, a takeaway, a hack, if you will, or, a lesson that has been learned that saves people, time and effort and issue and, whatever, right? Just, if for years and years, people have been going, 1,000 miles away to the next town. Let's say that you're 1,000. You probably live in a larger area. And you're like, wait, I couldn't even consider that. I live in Fitzgerald, so it feels like I'm 1,000 miles away from the nearest, civilization, if you will. But so in that instance, though, let's say that you are in a, all alone in your own place, small town, whatever, but the next town is 1,000 miles away, and people have been walking there, and then they would, started riding horses there, and then they started, eventually they started driving cars there, and they slowly but surely, what are they doing? Well, they're clearing a path to get there. So when it morphs into where now they have built, a speed rail, a bullet rail that'll get you there rather than going, 1,000 miles. I mean, gosh, you're probably talking days and weeks at first, right? And then when you're driving a car, 60 miles an hour ish, if you're on the interstate, probably get a little bit faster without getting caught, because we don't condone speeding. My foot is just very heavy. But the point is, you have a choice, right? You set out once the bullet train is going. You can still walk it. You can probably walk it easier than the first people walked it, right? They paved the way. They blazed the trail, if you will. Unless you're just going for the existential benefits of, I'm going to walk there, or I'm going to ride my horse, because you love love horseback. It's a vacation for you to take a week or whatever to go there and come back or whatever. Odds are you're going to approach it from the standpoint of, if you can afford the bullet train, you're taking the bullet train, because that's going to get you there in hour or minutes, we'll say. It'll get you there in minutes, whereas otherwise you're looking at least hours, probably days. See, with the online world, that's exactly what it boils down to. To get online, you can walk it, you can do all of the old ways are still available. You can go to GoDaddy and get hosting. You can go to WP Engine and get hosting. You can go to HostGator and get hosting. You can use WordPress or Joomla or Magento or etc. There's a lot of different options. Squarespace, which is more of a all-in-one solution, and they have their own builder and so forth. You can't do much e-commerce. You're not going to be able to do a bunch of landing pages, but it'll be pretty on Squarespace. You can go to Wix. I think it's Wix. There's a lot of, my point being, there are a lot of different ways to get your business, quote unquote, online. I found a bullet train with Rainmaker. So I don't worry about that anymore. I'm able to focus on building my business. The first step to building your business, and it took me 7 years to get to that point. I built that bullet train. I feel like I built it myself, but obviously I had nothing to do with building Rainmaker. That's a huge team of Copyblogger Media, and they're awesomely far more talented across the board than me. So, these guys built this amazing train that's super comfortable, has everything, all the amenities that you could want, and will get you there so much faster. You'll be refreshed and ready to roll, so to speak, when you get there, as opposed to tired from 7 days on horseback, or even cramped into I drove from, back in the day, I'm right at 6 foot, 270. Back in the day I was probably 220 or so. I was still not small, but the back seat of a Ford Mustang is small. And I was the one that got to ride for 5 hours, 6 hours from Greensboro, North Carolina, down through to Atlanta, Georgia, and then back. I don't know why I had to share that with you, but once I got there, I wasn't comfortable the whole way. So when I got there, there's a lot of catch up to do. If you're taking the long roundabout way, then once you get there, there's going to be a lot of resting and relaxation, or catch up on your end to do. For instance, I read a really good piece by a WordPress developer who is focusing more on maintenance plans, because let's face it, one of the biggest issues I always had with WordPress, and I'm a huge fan of so many WordPress developers, etc. However, their goal, their focus, their modus operandi, probably mispronounced that, but their MO, if you will, is they're focused on get you a website, get it up. That's it. Like, draw a line, and then the rest of the timeline, they're nowhere to be found, because that's not what they do. They're not maintenance people. They'll be very quick to tell you. Because what they're doing is they're now turning around to find the next website, or really not to find, to go to the queue that's been waiting for them, you know, and now they grab the next one, and then they fix their, boom. And then they go back and boom. But each one of these people that they're helping, these small business owners, are looking more for a long-term solution, a long-term assistance. Whereas that's just not in the DNA of most WordPress developers, or just most developers, and, you know, and specifically, I mean, you know, that's just, they're not there to hold your hand and, you know, teach you every little piece of, you know, using this and doing that. It drives them crazy. And, you know, I'm not commenting on that. I've dealt with it a lot from different developers, and I've dealt with some awesome developers who never had any problem whatsoever with it. So, you know, it depends. But I read this one developer who had realized that, okay, no one is really focusing on maintenance, and all of her customers wanted maintenance plans. They wanted to be able, she built it. She was the expert. She was the authority, or not was, she is the authority, in, especially in that customer's mind. So they're happy. Well, of course they want to upsell, you know, or, you know, purchase the maintenance plan from her. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really, really smart, because it puts her in line when they need that next website. Who are they going to first think of? Her. Even if she hadn't had the maintenance plan, she probably would have been the first person that they thought of, but I doubt it would have been as much of a top of mind awareness, as she's been right there with them all along. We got this website built with her, and then bang, 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 you know, if there's anything that needed to be updated, maintenance has been taken care of, all of that. Now, you know, 18 months, 24 months, whatever later, after the first website was built, now they're ready to do another website. They're going to refresh their website around these marketing goals, blah, 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 or they want to make it pop, whatever. But, you know, who are they going to think of? And what really struck me was that that's built into Rainmaker. I mean, it's 95 or 150 or whatever a month, or if you go with me, I mean, it's 300 a month, but that gets you, you know, everything, and then you get to work with me, and then, you know, you can you know, buy additional time as you need it, and my time, and I sell it by the minute, so you don't have to buy, you know, everything. You don't have to buy more than you need. The idea is, you know, your budget, so let's work within your budget as best as we can. I mean, I'm not going to lose money. I'm a business, but as long as I'm able to make money moving forward, the goal is that I want to help grow as many big customers as possible. I don't want to just go find the big customers and get, you know, win their business. I'd much rather take a bunch of other folks who, like me, started out with, you know, small and grew. Like with me, I'm much smaller than most. That's the whole point. If my system that I'm using, if the things that I've learned, the lessons I've learned that I'm applying to my business work for me, in my situation where I started out way below ground with all of this debt and blah, 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 no audience at all, 7 years, I never built an audience, I was too worried about knowing everything I needed to know to get the audience before I got the audience. Stupid. I should have started with the audience 7 years ago. I'd be 7 years into an audience as opposed to 7 years into nothing, right? But that's the big win, if you will, with Rainmaker. It's comprehensive. These are very smart people who have thought about what you need to take you from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 100 to 150 to 1,000. They've literally done it. They started with an audience, which was my big mistake. And so now they're X number of years in, and they have tons and tons of business, and, you know, they're an 8-figure business, etc., right? 50 employees and so forth. So with Rainmaker, if you're ready to focus on your business as opposed to worrying about everything else within, the online realm, then Rainmaker is a great it's not cheap. It is worth it though, because you don't have to worry about all the security stuff. You don't have to worry about all the updates and the maintenance stuff. You don't have to worry about finding all the different tools that you need and bringing them together and then getting them set up properly and then making sure that you don't have to worry about all of that. What you worry about is your business, which starts by growing your audience. So the way that we're going to approach growing your audience begins with, I knew I was forgetting something. There we go. I was like, man, I'm not as scary, right? So, okay. As you can see, that's some serious light right in my face. But the idea is you can actually see my face. Now, I think it's helpful. Okay, so where was I before I realized that I didn't have that done either? Let's get back to the story. I want to be very clear that, look, what do you get if you're going to focus on building your audience? What's the best way to do it? It's to have a conversation with your customers. Now, you have to be accepting of your customer feedback. You have to be accepting if they, email you, if they comment on one of your blog posts, if they do a reply podcast or something, where they carry on a specific, topic that you're discussing or whatever. Or the idea, though, is in part of their conversation will be when they pay. That is probably the biggest way that they can, or that is the biggest way as humans that we're able to vote. We vote with our wallets. Yeah, I'm almost positive I stole that from Chris Garrett or Tony Clark at some point on the mainframe. They mentioned it, but I totally agree. You're going to vote with, because if you put your money into it, if you're invested. So that's why a lot of people never really took free stuff that seriously. That's why people will sign up for an email list or whatever in order to get the ebook. And the ebook's about a topic that sounds really good, that could be very helpful, that should be very helpful for this person, but they got it for free. And so it's not that they're all automatically going to denigrate it because of it being free. It's just they don't have as much buy-in to it. So they're less likely to crack it open. I know me personally, I've gotten a lot of free ebooks that I've never really read. I have scanned most of them, but I haven't read them all. And there's a bunch of them that I paid for that I've scanned all of, and I'm sure there's one or two that I've actually read, multiple times, mainly by Hobbyblogger. And I think even a couple of those I got for free. But one of the things that I realized with that was, with ebooks, all the different ebooks, was they weren't the most easy to consume. If you figure out everything, all about technology and all that, it can be really simple. I know you're rolling your eyes. Oh my God, that's stupid easy. But it's not if you don't understand how. It's not. Trust me, because I've been there. And it's frustrating when something that should take 30 seconds, it takes you 15, 20 minutes to figure out, and then you finally just, give up on it. It happens. It happens all the time because there is so much information available that's bombarding us that we are having to kind of wade through, especially when you're talking about taking your business online. You have to figure out your domain name. You have to figure out who you're going to host your website with. You have to figure out what kind of website do I want? Who do I want it? How do I want it built on, Joomla or Magento or, WordPress or etc. Then how am I going to take care of it going forward? Because you're a business owner. It's your business. I know with me, I was and still am currently a one-person shop. At some point, I'll add additional people, but it's my business. I read somewhere, a really, really, really smart guy. The guy behind Restaurant Engine, Brian, I think it's Castle, Casel. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But Brian started up a new venture, and it's basically offering content marketing. He put together, it's a systemized product. And so what he's doing is he's saying, look, I've been doing this with these systems, etc., for Restaurant Engine for years and grown the business, etc. So now he's going to offer that to everyone else. And part of the premise that he's selling it on is that as the owner, you shouldn't blog. I disagree. If there's anyone that should blog, that should be in charge of the content for my business, it's me. Who knows my business better? Who is more excited about my business? Now, true, I'm not the greatest writer or, obviously screen personality, but, the point is, if it's going to be authentic, if it's going to be genuine, it's going to come from me. I can hire editors. I can have, people clean up my thoughts and help me plan, and I can learn how to do it better. But ideally, I need that content to come from me. And, obviously, if you grow and you have 15 or 20 or 50 employees and all, then maybe you're going to, put together systems or whatever to take care of that. But it's still going to originate from you, from the founder. It's your business, your customer that you care about, that you are personally working with. So that's where my whole plan, system, whatever came from, was people do need to actually be in charge of their business. They do need control of the content that's created. They have to understand why, and they have to understand how. And it's not that complicated. What you have to do is you have to be organized, and you have to take control and take ownership and say, look, this is important. That I'm interacting with my customers is important to my business long-term and short-term. I don't want to delegate the very core of this. You can, delegate the production as far as have somebody, clean up your podcast like I do with Christopher Wright. There's a bunch of other folks that use other people, but sound engineer or whatever that can clean it up and make it sound fantastic, definitely should do that. But otherwise, I mean, why wouldn't the story come from you? You're the one that interacts with customers, and they enjoy it. They thank you for your time. They thank you for your experience, for your expertise. They thank you for answering their questions. They're thanking you. You get less thanks if you have, a third generation person of one of your employees dealing with them. It's the reality. You can have an amazing one, but then again, if you have an amazing third generation employee, they have a chance to approximate your impact on that customer. If you don't have an amazing third generation, they have no chance to approximate it. And I'm not saying that you have to do everything. That's not my point. You can take it that way if you'd like, but that honestly is not my point. My point is priority. Prioritizing the future of your business is tied to your content. Why? Why do I say that? Because your content that you create, the stories that you tell around your brand, audio, visual, written, etc., those are the ways that you attract your audience. And today, online, in this business environment, it's important that you attract your audience yourself. Yes, you can go and do a guest post on Copyblogger and get a chance to introduce yourself to Copyblogger's audience, and hopefully some of them, a percentage, will want to come back with you to your website and be part of your audience, because being part of an audience is not mutually exclusive typically. For instance, in that instance, I mean, they could still be a Copyblogger audience member or customer or repeat customer for that matter, farther down the line, the education path, because that's really all it is. Everyone starts out as a stranger, and then you give them a reason to know that you exist, which brings them into your audience. Once they're there, it's up to you to educate them further in, closer to you, or to educate them away from you. The idea being they become, and this is what I'm setting up for Storytelling 101, is it basically it walks you through. We're going to create an audience member, and they're still, I still don't know who they are, but if they're following along on my podcast, or if they're, watching the live broadcast, or if they're, whatever, they're finding, if say a guest post on another site that I might do or whatever, those are all ways that they know I exist, but they're still a stranger to me, right? So eventually what I'm looking to do is to get them to take that first step. And, the mainframe guys call it micro conversions, or at least that's, I think, where I first heard it from. So I'll give them credit. But micro conversions means that the first one is, do you want to, at least introduce yourself with an email to get this? So you jump onto my email list, which gives me a chance to start more of a two-way conversation with this person. Yes, I can continue to do all of my, outbound story, so to speak, where I'm, putting out blog posts and or podcast episodes and or whatever. I can continue to do that, and they'll probably still partake in that when, when it's relevant. But I'm now able to have a two-way conversation with them within their inbox because they were kind enough to give me that email address. Now, this is not something to be abused. The goal is to take them from just the email address to get them into my Rainmaker platform as a member, as a free member to start, but as a member where they sign up and they tell me their first and last name, they set up a user, they set up a user account, etc. And now when they come to jasonhobbsllc.com, they're not just, looking at whatever and leaving. They log in because they had their own account. That's the next step. Now they're part of my community. And then the goal from there is to move them into either a customer and or repeat customer, or, and then on to a brand ambassador, etc., which the brand ambassadors make the best affiliates. So, but that's the goal. And it all starts with, you have to be in control of the content that you create. And the way that I recommend is by telling a story, planning, taking control of your content for your business, taking control of your, promotion, if you will, if you're using the old 4 Ps marketing, product, place, price, promotion. Everybody says, I'm going to market the crap out of my business. Yeah, they're talking about, I'm going to promote it, and they're skipping the other 3 parts. See, marketing is strategically, marketing is set up to grow your revenue. That's what it's about. It's about strategically identifying a problem that you solve for a specific customer, giving them value and educating them on how to use it, and, so forth. I mean, the whole point of content is to start the process towards additional revenue for your business. It's a business. You're not, it's supposed to make money. That's the whole point about it. It doesn't help anyone long term if it's not profitable, if it's not making money, right? So your customers will actually understand this because, whether they are a business or they work for a business or, know someone that owns a business or whatever, it's going to be something that they're going to be aware of. So what does a story involve? The way that I like to do it is keep it simple. At least starting out, start with just a 30-minute show, live broadcast that you're going to do on behalf of your customer. And it's going to address topics that are important to your customer. For instance, if it's, photography, maybe, and you're a bridal photographer, perhaps your first one tells your story about, when you were a bride and what brought you into, your passion, why you decided to become a bridal photographer, and maybe touches on some of the, a couple of lessons that you've learned. And then the second, third, fourth, fifth one, which you could do one a month, just you plan it. And then you use that 30-minute live content to turn it into a couple, probably at least 3 blog posts, probably 4 blog posts on specific topics that were covered in that 30-minute video live broadcast. And then you also can create, from that, you can create, 3 or 4 or possibly in some instances more, audio podcast episodes. And then you're also able to repurpose it into something that you put on, say, SlideShare. And then you can repurpose some of the content from your blog. You know, say you put a blog post around one of the topics that was discussed in this live, live piece of content, this live broadcast, and you put a blog post on, and then you also republish it or repurpose it over onto Medium or onto LinkedIn. The idea being you're using all of this content to draw people back because your audience, ideally, they gather at your website on your ground that you own. So that's 30 minutes. I'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow, we're going to start walking through the basic steps of getting set up and starting to put pieces together for your website to tell your story using Rainmaker platform, which is what I use. So if you have questions, please, I'd love to start with your question tomorrow. If you have it, do me a favor and just tweet it at me. Jason Hobbs LLC is my Twitter handle, and put the hashtag Swappin, SWAPPIN, stories. STORIES. If you'll do that, as soon as I see it, I will make sure that the next show, which, if you can do it later today, I'll get it on first thing tomorrow. I'll answer your question, and I might even have some swag I can send you as far as maybe a killer. I have one or two of these Rainmaker t-shirts. You should see the back. I can't show it to you. It's because it's private. So I will see you tomorrow. Keep kicking ass. And if you need anything, Jason at jasonhobbsllc.com is my email address. Please don't hesitate. That's what I'm here for. If I can be of help, if I can answer some questions, help move you further along, great. Do me a favor. Shoot me an email and let's get started. Thanks. Have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.